Rest in peace, ASIC, the 3rd of February, 2023. Martin North, John Adams, in the interest of people. Hello, John.
Hello, Martin. How are you going today?
Yeah, very good. And we're back in the studio once again to continue the ASIC saga.
Indeed. We have some important news to be able to reveal to the audience. So a week ago, we were fortunate enough not to just have one inquiry established. We had 2 inquiries established by Parliament. And now one of the committees has made their first bold move, and we're back to talk about that. But just so we can explain what happened last week, because there's a couple of people, Martin, I think who were slightly confused. So So in the Senate chamber last week, the Senate voted to establish an inquiry through a specific committee called the Senate Economic References Committee, and that's chaired by Senator Bragg, who's a Liberal from New South Wales, and that vote was 43 to 20. Now the 20 people that voted against that motion were from Labor, and the reason why they voted against it was because Labor has set up a different inquiry into ASIC with almost the identical terms of reference through a different committee. And that committee is called the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Corporations and Financial Services. So now we have, in the last week, we've had the creation of 2 web pages in terms of the 2 inquiries. So let's actually put up the inquiry chaired by the Coalition. And this is the Senate Economic References Committee, so we'll just put that on the screen. And Martin, let's also put the web page that is chaired by Labor. So Labor, Senator Deb O'Neill chairs the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Corporations and Financial Services. So let's put that on the screen so that people can fully comprehend how significant that last week was, because it is a monumental task to get one inquiry, but when you get 2 inquiries concurrently, that is a huge issue. And so one of the big questions that came out of after last Thursday, Martin, was, well, Labor effectively lost the vote in the chamber. Would they proceed with the inquiry at the joint committee, or would they just say, okay, well, we're just going to have one? Well, the news through multiple sources, but also some through written correspondence that one of our viewers sent to me in the last week is Labor is not backing down. The inquiry at the joint committee will proceed, and we are going full steam ahead into 2023 with 2 inquiries into ASIC, and I don't think people at ASIC would be particularly pleased with that.
Now, there's 2 points, isn't it? The Labor one actually was they were able to table the inquiry without actually getting a vote, because it's a particular committee that has particular powers, so they could basically sum it up out of nowhere. Why hadn't they done it before? Interesting question. But the fact we've got 2, which means that both sides, both houses of, both sides of the aisle, as it were, both of them think that ASIC needs to be looked at. So everyone now thinks ASIC needs to be looked at.
So the key point on that one, Martin, is that so in the Senate last Thursday, the Coalition, the Greens, One Nation, Jackie Lambie's party, the UAP, and the independent Senator Pocock from ACT all voted for the inquiry, and then obviously Labor voted for established their own inquiry at the Joint Committee. So the reality is that there is universal consensus in the Australian Senate that there needs to be a close look in terms of ASIC's handling of reports of alleged misconduct and their enforcement record. So now the important question then becomes, Martin, is that if we have 2 inquiries, one chaired by the Coalition, one chaired by Labor, well, what should people do? Now, my strong position, and I think you share it in this philosophy, is that our philosophy, our commitment here at this channel is to serve the interests of the Australian people. So we are not going to take particular sides in terms of should we favour one inquiry over another inquiry. So I plan to, obviously, because these inquiries were established after I published my report, my independent report from a few weeks ago about ASIC, I intend to fully participate with both inquiries to the extent that those inquiries want me to assist. So on Monday, I did tweet. I did put this out on social media. I went to Sydney and met Senator Matt Canavan from Queensland. Who's a Queensland senator. He was in Sydney on Monday. He's actually on the Senate Economic References Committee. So he's actually on the committee chaired by the coalition. And so we spent an hour talking about, in terms of my reports, in terms of the inquiry that's just been established, the importance of the inquiry, what I would hope the inquiry would achieve, and what's the best way to go about doing that. So we did that. And then yesterday, Martin, I actually wrote to the chair of the Joint Committee, chaired by Senator Deb O'Neill, and I wrote to Senator O'Neill and basically just said, well, congratulations on establishing an inquiry at the Joint Committee. You guys have a lot of important work to do. I stand ready to assist the Joint Committee with all its deliberations, and happy to assist the Joint Committee in whatever way that the Joint Committee thinks that I can add value. So so obviously I'm taking a very bipartisan approach, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm supporting one side or another, because at the end of the day, this is not about Labor or Liberal. This is about fixing ASIC and actually ensuring that financial crime in this country is actually properly addressed. So now, what I can say, Martin, is that today that the Senator Bragg's committee, which was now they have called yesterday. The dramatic news was that they have now officially called for submissions, and submissions are due on the 3rd of February 2023, and that's obviously part of our title of the show. So the Senate Economic References Committee has given the public 3 months to put all of their horror stories together about their interactions in terms of ASIC, and Senator Bragg actually put out a tweet, but he also put out a short video asking the public at large that if they've had a difficult experience with ASIC, that they should come forward and tell their story. So how about we play that short video from Senator Bragg?
We've opened submissions into the ASIC Inquiry, which the Senate commissioned last week. Now, we want to hear from you. We want to know if you've had a bad experience with ASIC. We want to know if you have ideas about how ASIC can be improved. This is very important because we need to have a country where the corporate regulator works for all the people, that it works to enforce the law for consumers and for small businesses. So put your submission in to aph.gov.au or get in touch directly with my office if you want to have a chat.
Yeah, John, very interesting, because he's really actually wanting to engage. It's brilliant.
Yes. The thing is that, look, I mean, so Senator Bragg has had a long career in the private sector before coming to Parliament. So he's not necessarily seen as a political hack that's reliant on the political structure to give him a long-term career. So he's willing to push the envelope, and obviously for a politician to engage in the public and basically say, this agency is not going so well, we want to hear from the public at large, small business and consumers. I thought that was a nice short video. And since that video was released, Martin, his committee, the Senator Bragg's committee, has actually formally wrote to me today and actually invited me to put in a submission. So obviously I was going to put in a submission without an invitation. But obviously because I'm the catalyst in terms of all this activity, they have formally written to me and said, John, would you please put in a submission? Now, part of this show, Martin, is just obviously one to alert the public that with this Senate Economic References Committee, submissions are open now for submissions, and they've got 3 months to put their submissions together. So beyond our just articulation here, Martin, is that the committee itself has actually put up a web page that explains how to put a submission together and actually how to submit your submission to the inquiry. So why don't we actually put that up? Why don't we put that up on the screen for our audience to be able to see that? So again, this is for the Senate Economic References Committee, which is chaired by Senator Bragg and the coalition. And also now in the video we played earlier in the show, Martin, Senator Bragg basically said that if people have further questions, Senator Bragg has invited the public at large to contact his office, which is a very generous offer. So why don't we actually put Senator Bragg's details on the screen? Now, Senator Bragg may not like this because he may get thousands of emails, but he's actually asked for the public to communicate with him. So why don't we just put that on the screen? And again, we've put up his Sydney number, office number, his Parliament House number, his email address, and again, if you have specific questions that people can obviously address them to you or I, or people can go directly to the chairman of the inquiry and actually ask for further detail. And I'm sure the Senator staff will be able to assist with any follow-up questions that they may have. So Martin, so we bring this episode to a close now. So now this is no longer theoretical. We are really now in the heart of the battle. Martin, look, in the last week, Martin, I had a whole host of people say congratulations on getting the inquiry, but getting the inquiry was only the beginning of it was the end of the beginning. So we still have the rest of the act to play out, and now is the really important part. So for all those people who say they have a story to tell, now is your chance in the next 3 months to tell that story. Because if you don't take this opportunity, you should never complain again about your grievances about ASIC or grievances about the financial system or the banks, etc. Because if you don't participate in democracy, you only have yourself to blame. So really now is the time. If you want to fix up Australia's financial police, if you want to change the leadership in terms of ASIC, if you want to put the financial crooks away in this country, now is the time that every person that has a dramatic and compelling story to tell Parliament, we've done our part. Now it's our audience and the public at large to engage. But also, I would say, Martin, is that not just people should actually put in their submissions, which are obviously important. People should tell their friends, their family, their people, their colleagues in business or the workplace about this inquiry and why it's important, so that more and more people are able to become aware of what's going on, and they'll be able to put in their submission. Just to give you one example, Martin, 2 days ago I had a phone call from one of our viewers who told me about a horrific story that she had with ASIC back in 2008. And when she told me the story, I said, did you ever put in a submission in the 2014 inquiry into ASIC? And she said, no, because I never knew the inquiry was on. So obviously ensuring that as many Australians know about this inquiry, and for those that have a relevant story, to engage in the inquiry, to put the submissions in. And again, if people need any form of help over the next few months, there are multiple people who are willing to assist, whether it's us or Parliament, etc. And people should utilise that help if they need that help.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, I think, John, finally, that there may be people who have not necessarily had a direct interaction with ASIC, but nevertheless have a strong point of view about what the financial police should be doing.
Yes.
I think it's also important that they actually also articulate that too, so that the review can actually understand what the sentiment is in the country about this, because this is a big deal, even if you haven't yet come across ASIC or actually tripped over in some other way. The question is, what's your expectation from the financial police? What should they be doing?
100%.
John, thank you very much for a really good conversation, really good point in the journey now. As you say, it's the end of the beginning, but we're now on the road, and it's all down now to the quality of those submissions, the quantity of those submissions, but at least momentum has started.
100%.
Martin North, John Adams, in the interest of the people.